sir, I did. Is that right?
Okay. At this time, I'll call the Hampton County Council Budget Workshop meeting to order for March 3rd, 2025 at 5 o'clock p.m. Before we get started, I don't know if anyone is aware, but, and you might already be aware that House Representative Bill Hager, father passed away sometime last week. And I want you all to keep the family, in your prayers as he goes through this bereavement. So I just want to just mention that to you. We will start the meeting off with the invocation by myself and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Thompson. So if everyone would please stand, if you can, at this time. We bow our heads. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you to say thank you for allowing us to see this beautiful day that you have bestowed upon us. And Heavenly Father, as we go through this budget workshop, give us the mind and the wisdom to look at all the different departments as they come and give their presentation, that the things that they come up with will always be for the best of the people of Hampton County. And Heavenly Father, as we continue to do county business work, please keep the Hager family in mind as they go through the period of bereavement. In your Son, Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. At this time, we are on item number 3, the approval of the agenda for Hampton County Council March 3rd, 2025 budget workshop. What is the pleasure of council?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve March 3rd, 2025 budget workshop meeting agenda.
Second.
A motion has been made and has been properly second. Any discussion? If none, all those who are in approval of the Hampton County Council 3rd, 2025 budget workshop agenda, show your approval by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? We're now on item number 4 on budget presentations. Our first presentation would be from County Council, our Clerk to Council, County Administrative Assistant, Mrs. Altrisa Orr.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Administrator Humans. Thank you for listening at my requested budget today. My name is Altricia Orr. I'm the Clerk to Council for Hampton County Council. I'll be presenting the requested FY 2026 budget for Hampton County Council today. County Council serves as the governing authority and employs an administrator to handle administrative matters under their direction. The council consists of 5 members that are elected for 4-year terms. Current council members are Dr. Roy Hollingsworth, Chairman, Darren Williams, Vice Chair, Jordan Jenks, Dennis Thompson Jr., and Marvin J. Love. So our FY 2025 budget was approved for $216,990. This year we are requesting for FY 2026 the same numbers. We just kind of jiggled some numbers around between salary and benefits, and also a strategic planning retreat for county council in the near future. So our budget justification. The pay budgeted for existing personnel on board as of February 2025, there was an increase offset by reduction in benefit estimate for the FY 2026 budget. Contractual services, that budget was reduced to reflect our actual cost. Education has increased to plan for that retreat, as I just mentioned, to guide and direct Hampton County's future direction. So we are asking that County Council move the $216,000 budget to the FY 2026 budget. We had no decrease or increase. We are keeping our budget with the same numbers. Any questions for me?
On the salaries, this includes not only your salary, but also the stipend that council receives also?
It is. It's my salary along with the council's salary.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Mrs. Orr?
I don't see, yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't see, last year we had in, I don't see what we had in that travel for the nationals, that we put $5,000 in that budget for the national travel.
Right. Council did that many years ago where that particular council had set up to where one councilman could attend the national convention for the National County Council Association.
Correct.
And in the years, I think I went one year. The next year, another councilman was supposed to go, but the pandemic set in.
Correct.
And then once that pandemic set in, then no one attended since that time. So that's been over since 2000, probably 18, I think, when I went. And so it was just something that no one showed an interest in going to, and we had allocated for that. Again, that was with that particular council.
So we just leave it out, or you want to, what will we do if we,
Well, me personally, my personal feeling is that because of the budget constraints that we're now under, I don't see where it would be, that
problem.
it would be beneficial for the entire county for
Okay.
one person to go to a national convention. I don't see how that would benefit the rest of
no
the county.
problem. Thank you, sir.
That's it?
Anyone else have any other questions for Ms.
No, I
Mrs.
just
Orr?
think it's just following the pattern that we said we wanted to establish is zero budgeting, so we don't have any increase. So have you made the balances
I've-
around to make the money available to do the things we do, but we stay within the same bounds
Yes.
of last year?
Yes, sir.
So we good.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Thank you, Ms. Orr.
And thank you, Ms. Michelle.
Next, we have Magistrate Judge Tanja Alexander. Good evening.
Good evening, Counselor.
Good evening.
And Mr. Humans. I'm here today to present my budget for the Magistrate Office. I'm going to do the overview. Go down? Okay, got it. Okay. Hampton County Magistrate Court is a centralized court located at 411 Cemetery Road, Vaughnville, South Carolina. Magistrates generally have criminal trials jurisdiction over all offenses subject to the penalty of fines set by the statute, but generally not exceeding $1,000 or imprisonment, not exceeding 30 days or both. Magistrates are responsible for traffic court 2 to 3 days a week, setting bail for all criminal cases, conducting preliminary hearings, jury trials, magistrate sales, restraining orders, hearings, and issuing arrest and search warrants. Cases may also be transferred from general sessions, the penalty for which does not exceed 1 year imprisonment or a fine of $5,000 or both. The master office also has jurisdiction when the amount of controversy has civil jurisdiction when the amount in controversy does not exceed $7,500. Master office clerks adopt uniform practices and procedures for the office. They maintain the highest possible ethical standards in their dealings with the public officers and other professionals. Master staff attend annual mandatory training with subject matters related to criminal, traffic, and civil issues pertaining to the court. Magistrate judges and clerks are assigned all weekends and holiday coverages. So like I said, the master office responsibilities. Presiding over bond hearings, contacting victims, conducting traffic and criminal court, conducting preliminary hearings for criminal cases, issuing arrest and search warrants, issuing of restraining orders, administrating of civil cases with limited jurisdiction, such as small claims and landlord-tenant disputes, overseeing the eviction proceeding, facilitating mediation and dispute resolution of civil matters, conducting magistrate sales, ensuring proper documentation and record keeping for all proceedings. Last year, for the FY25 approved budget, we were allocated $359,564. This year, we are requesting $319,432 with a savings of $40,132. And that includes a change in salary and benefit adjustments. Within that adjustment, I requested a pay increase of $5,000, and some of the benefits has changed, but I did still give a savings for that. And the reason why I'm requesting that $5,000, over the past several months, I've been taking on a significant portion of the caseload handling high volumes of civil, criminal, and traffic matters. I'm on call during holidays, weekends, and weekdays to assist law enforcement with warrant arrests and bond hearings. While my part-time colleague contributes effectively, the majority of the workload falls on me, ensuring the cases are processed effectively and justice is upheld. Even though I'm requesting $5,000 salary adjustment, I believe my contributions are worth more. However, due to budget restrictions, I'm willing to settle for this amount as a fair reflection of the dedication and workload. From July 2024 to February 2025, our master office have heard over 1,425 cases, including civil, criminal, and traffic matters. Compared to other counties, our judges carry a heavier workload due to fewer magistrates available to share on-call responsibility and case hearings. We have one full-time judge, which is me, and one part-time judge, which is Judge Ferry. Also, between July 1st, 2024 and February 27th, 2025, the master office generated $168,944.24 in revenue through fines and fees. This substantial contribution underscores our office role in supporting the county financial health. Currently, the master office receives a supplement of $2,500 each quarter for full-time judges and $625 for part-time judges each quarter. Anticipated revenue is projected to rise during the forthcoming court cases that will involve fines and fees. So this is just what the revenue is right now. That will increase before the budget year ends for 2025. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions from
I wanna ask
council?
some questions, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
Who provides you with the supplemental income?
That's come from the state treasurer's office of state.
State treasurer.
Yes, sir.
That supplement that comes from the state treasurer office, can you use it for anything, or is it only for salaries, or what?
It's only for salaries.
Only for salaries.
And also want to state, also in that new budget, the $319,432, I'm anticipating maybe another judge. I haven't had another judge helping me since 2022. So her salary is also in that as well, along with her health benefits and retirement as well. So that's also included in that budget.
Is that's supplemental from the state treasurer? Is that only for the salary for the judges, or it's for the staff
It's just
also?
for the judges.
Just for the judges, okay.
Yes, sir, part-time and full-time.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
How many staff? How many staff members you have?
I have 2 clerks and myself as a full-time judge and 1 part-time judge. So I'm the full-time, I'm there every day.
And the salary for the one full-time judge that remains vacant, that position remains vacant, is in this also?
It's in that 319,000
Sure,
in that
okay.
budget, yes, sir.
Any other questions for Mrs. Alexander?
I
Council.
say that you are doing a remarkable job.
Yes.
Your salary.
Yes.
Yes.
Most times that takes up most budgets than anything else, so that's a remarkable feat, and thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Looking at it and reevaluating your budget and coming up with a less cost increase for us this year. As a matter of fact, it's a positive, so that's good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for taking the time
Thank
to
you.
listen to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Oh, sorry. I got caught up in looking at the budget. Next, we have probate judge, Mrs. Shannon Parker.
Good afternoon, Councilman, County Administrator Yeomans,
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Clerk to Council, and my fellow citizens of Hampton. I am the probate judge for Hampton County, and I am here to present the 2026 budget for my court. So department overview and responsibilities for my court. We assist attorneys, abstractors, ancestry researchers, creditors with requests for records dating back to 1878. That's where our records begin in our office. We accept applications, we process, adjudicate, and issue orders for the following: marriage license, certifying copies of marriage license, mental health affidavits and issuing orders of detention, and receiving documentation of subsequent documents and orders filed from the mental health facilities. We appoint guardian ad litems and orders for minor settlement cases. We do certificates for special administrators and special mediators. We do will files, small estates, full estates, while overseeing and presiding over formal and informal or formal hearings. We also do orders for conservatorships and guardianship cases. I was also recently newly appointed by Chief Justice to oversee the adult drug program here in Hampton County. This is something that has not been in Hampton County for many years. We will begin on March 12th with that, and that's a weekly program that is partnership with the Solicitor's Office and the opioid reward that they have received. I'm sorry. What did I do? Okay. Moving to our budget summary. In year 2025, we were approved for $201,800, and this year we are requesting $205,516. That is a difference with an increase of $3,716. The changes that I am asking for this year is a promotion and raise for my current employee. I have 2 staffers, myself and my deputy. My deputy carries a lot of our load in our office. She does clerical, secretary, and judge's work. I'm also asking to add a part-time employee. This is something that I've asked of last year. It is imperative and would be very beneficial. I'm also asking for computer equipment, office furniture, and supplies that would come with that part-time, or that part-time third person. If we move to the budget requests, you'll see that there was an increase in my salaries of $5,986. That's with the promotion and pay increase that I would give my current deputy. I have the state supplement there for the $15,000. Part-time personnel, I am asking for $18,750 for their annual salary. That just includes maybe 15 hours a week for this part-time person. Their duties would include going over our records. We have about 1,200 open records that we just cannot get to from a day-to-day basis. Inside of those open records is a lot of court fees that probably are still due, and that would increase my revenue as well. Moving down, we have contractual services. Last year we did ask for $32,600. I'm only asking for $11,596 this year with a savings of $21,000. I was able to get my cloud-based program. We're in the works of getting that started, so I do appreciate y'all's help with that. Our travel, I am asking for that to be increased with today's world and increase of hotel rooms and whatnot, even with me trying to save money, get whatever savings I can when we do go to these conferences. There's just an increase in that. As well as our education and our dues. Our education increased, and so did our judges' dues. These conferences are very important. We have CLE hours that we are mandated as judges to have each year. So those conferences, a lot of them are not held online, so you do have to go in person. So that's why these are important, and I'm asking for an increase on that. Again, our office supplies are included here. With the third person, we would need computers and other office supplies to suffice. Our challenges and requirements that we face day to day is personnel shortage, lack of supplies, computer and printer complications. Our IT has been working on some of our computer systems. They're just outdated. They need updating. Projecting working and storage space depletion to stay in compliance with state requirements. Again, we have files dating back to 1878. I cannot get rid of those files. They have to stay in my court. They have to stay in my office, so I just have to have room for them with, and making sure that they're in compliance with state statutes. Our revenue so far for this fiscal year through February, our revenue is about $23,000. Again, these are state mandated court fees from estate property values, court fees from formal hearings, marriage application fees, certified copy and research fees, and also other court fees concerning day-to-day operations, example, filing fee for administrator, will files, things like that. Any questions?
Any questions?
I want to ask you, the revenue that you said about 23,000, how is that recycled? Is that some of that's kept in your budget, or does it have to go back to the state?
All of that, except for the only thing that comes out of that revenue is $20 per marriage application that goes to the state for a domestic violence fee. Our marriage applications are $50, and that was increased by my coming before county council when I became judge, and increasing it from $35 to $50 because we weren't making any money on that. So 20 of that goes to the state. Other than that, everything from our office comes to the county.
Is it replenished back in your budget, or you just use it for?
I would assume it's replenished back into our budget, but that would be a question for. Yeah. Yeah, it's used within the county,
Okay.
yes.
As long as-
Go ahead.
Now, let let me ask this
Oh,
about
oh.
you. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
About supplies, are you getting involved with the central?
Yes, sir. And that's we've all had our, our trial and error through this year trying to get supplies and maintaining that through county. So that's just, there are certain things that we have to have that, I've had to go and say, hey, I need this. So that's the only, and I've included that in here, but I mean, I think we are going to still try to do a centralized supply list. Yes, sir.
Okay, I want to make sure that you will be
Yes.
part of that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, go ahead.
That's a part of my question. But the 95,000, what portion of that is for the new equipment? 9,500, I'm sorry.
9,500. That would include like new computer printer. We have to scan documents into the computer. That would be any kind of furniture that we would need to set up an office, a third office. Right now I have a front office and my office. That would also, I've included that into an estimate of a year's supply of, office supplies and things like that I've needed. So that's what those include. But again, that would be centralized for the most part.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that was a question I was asked.
Yes, sir.
That's-
I want to ask one other question. This is in reference to the record keeping that you have to do, the 1878. Is there any, how do you have that in the office now? Is it in paper bounds or?
We have it both. A lot of our records online only go back to 2000. That's where our cloud base is going to come in once that is finalized. The public would be able to go online and have access to that. Right now, they do not. It is also kept in our big red binder books. And then we have 2 rooms that are centralized for our closed files and our open GCs, mental health, things like that.
I know it would cost a whole lot of money to digitize all that. But,
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess that's something.
And I've actually shopped around for that. We got a great deal. I was able to save probably almost $20,000 with that program that I went with.
On digitizing?
On becoming a cloud program instead of what we're using now, yes.
I got a question on.
Let's go ahead.
Probably the 2 of them, this question goes to. What would it take, or did you ever check to see what it costs us to get a centralized cloud base for the county for everything that we have to keep? I mean, a mega system.
That has been in the works, but for this particular point in time, we haven't broached that she would have needs, she would have to do a lot of documentation to be posted on a different place. So her program, if we get a centralized program, those 2 may not jive. So
Right.
we'd have to do the research to make sure that whatever she's putting in her program, whatever the auditors putting in their program, when they scan in those documents, that all those documents can be shared on a centrally managed system. So
Right.
I would have to do some research to get back to you on that, but each individual department has their own specific things, and we'd have to
There you go.
determine if the software's gonna be compatible in order to put it up into one giant central place.
Okay. That's the way to go.
Any other question? I have a couple of questions. I see where you're adding computer equipment, office furniture, and supplies. Once you get this new equipment, what happened to the old equipment? I'm just curious as to whatever happened to, equipment that that no department isn't using anymore. What do the county do with that equipment? Where does it go? I'm just curious. Yeah, that is no longer being used by any department.
I would love to say that old computer equipment ages well like a vintage truck. However, some of the equipment coming out of these places is sold. You take it to an antique dealer, and they might give you something for it. We could maybe like put it on eBay or something like that, some of the higher stuff, but in general, them vehicles got all the mileage you're gonna get out of them just about, and they about ready for dump.
Yeah.
They to that point.
Well,
If you want the honest answer.
even if you get $1 for it, that's
I'm all
good
for
to-
that. Like I said, we can put it up on
Yeah.
eBay or whatever and sell it. And fight
You
for
you know,
stuff.
instead of, I'm using for an example, when I was with the Extension Service, and when different offices no longer use equipment, like computers and all, and they were operational, they didn't give it to anybody. We took it up to Clemson and threw it in a big pile. Big pile. No, I mean,
It's wasteful.
I thought it was.
When we get to the
you know.
point that we are doing a 5-year.
I don't know if they still do it
for
now,
all of
you know.
those- For all that equipment, we're doing the 5-year run, so like we should have been doing, that we haven't been able to do, then that's pretty viable.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff will still be good. But like stuff out of her office now, if we can sell it or whatever, let's do it. You're right, $1's $1, but, it's just, when
Some-
we get to that
yeah.
thing, that turnover is something we should look at right now.
Or at
We
least
might
give
go
it,
get $1.
you know, give it a goodwill or something. We could, you know, get something. Okay, the other question was, you stated that you were newly appointed by Chief Justice to oversee the adult drug program. I guess that's the opioid program, right? I know that there's some folks that we're going to put on the committee and all. Can you just tell me, have y'all decided as to what is the number of people that would be on the committee, or what? I'm not quite clear on that.
That would not be something I can answer. I'm just overseeing the judges portion of that program.
Okay.
That would be something for maybe Lee Rivas, who's my contact with the solicitor's office
Okay.
for that.
I gotcha.
This part of what I'm included in is the overseeing of the
Sure,
program
sure.
and the individual when
I
they
follow
come
you
before
now.
me.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay,
Yes.
good. I mean, you asked my question, I understand.
I got a
Yeah.
question on that. Can you answer this question? Do council need to appoint a chairman for that committee, or that committee elects a chairman?
Well,
Details and obligations of council versus folks serving on that committee. And, any dollars coming into the county will get scrutinized. So if we got opioid money coming into the county, we want to be clear on what we're doing and how we have oversight to it. That's why it's such a topic, but, we're gonna make sure you guys understand
All right.
the obligations and responsibility that we have with that. Every dollar that comes in the county, I'm getting a call and email about it being audited, what we're spending it for, and it may be hard for some folks, but we have to understand.
And if I can include, I don't get anything from that for my office. I don't get any extra pay, I don't get nothing. This is done within my day-to-day hours. It's done every Wednesday. I have made it where it's from about 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So that way, court security, all of that, I'm trying to cut back on overtime or anything like that. So none of that's coming to my office.
Let me just say this here, unless our practices have changed, any of the committees that the county have, that we have people that volunteer to participate, normally that committee itself within themselves, they decide who the chair and the vice chair is for that committee. I don't know if any committee that council actually determine who the chair or the vice chair is. So I would think that it would probably hold true to once the opioid committee get established, they will within themselves decide who the chair and the vice chair is.
And I know Mr. Stone, Duffy Stone, I heard his presentation the other day, and he talked a little bit about that too. So, you know, they could probably answer a little bit more of your questions on that. So.
Any other questions for Ms. Parker? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we're at 4.4, the coroner, Anna Fields. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Okay.
Good evening, council. Before the coroner comes, I just want to provide some clarification about the centralization of services, what types of things we're going to continue to centralize going into 2026. The instruction that each department was given was to budget for all of their needs, including those things that are currently included under centralized services. This is the first year that Hampton County has centralized services, so we're still getting a handle on what the budget should be for those centralized services and the needs. So what will happen is that everything that is classified as a centralized service will be lifted and shifted out of each department's budget and sent to the appropriate manager who is managing those centralized funds. So for example, Judge Parker asked for computer equipment. That need will be shifted to the information technology budget, and it will be included as part of that presentation when they actually are ready to present before the council. So anything that's currently a centralized service will appear in each budget, but when County Administrator Humans makes his recommendation, those things will be taken out of each individual department's budget, and they will be reflected in the budget of the entity that's currently managing those funds.
I understand.
And that is a discussion with each department here before we come with the final budget, right?
Yes, they know.
Okay.
They know.
Make sure they know.
They know. But to be fair to them, I don't believe that the county's in a position right now to say, we only need $1,000 for office supplies, for example, without having at least 2 years of experience under his belt. So if they identify what their needs are, because they know better right now than the county administrator does. So if they identify their needs, we can just take those numbers and move them to the appropriate budget and manage that way.
I understand.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gasson. Next, we have our coroner, Anna Fields. Mrs. Anna Fields. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Councilman, Mr. Yeomans. I'm Anna Fields. I'm your county coroner, and I'm honored to stand here before you. It is a privilege to serve as the Hampton County coroner. We work diligently to serve the citizens of our county at times when it's needed the most. We often work long hours, hard, long nights, with no sleep at all, sometimes little sleep. But we work for the citizens, and we are proud to say that we do not slow down. I would like to introduce my second in command, which is Mr. Preston Altman, who will be talking to you all concerning the coroner's budget. If y'all have any questions, comments, concern, I left my cards with you. You can reach out to me, or you can reach out to Mr. Altman.
Thank you, Coroner. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The coroner's office, our primary focus, I'm not going to read all of it, I'm just going to kind of give you the synopsis since she's timing. So, the coroner's office is primarily responsible for death investigation, okay? So any death in the county, whether it be hospice death, hospital death, nursing home death, we are responsible for. It's not just a common misconception as people think that the coroner's office is just responsible for deaths of someone, say, that gets hit in the street or shot or whatever the case may be. We are responsible for all death in the county. And our office maintains records for all death in the county, with the exception of very few deaths that happen over 24 hours being just in Hampton Regional. If they're transported anywhere else, it comes back to us if it's within 24 hours. So we do a lot with scene investigations as well as record keeping. And like the probate judge, our records go, coroner's inquisition records go all the way back to 1878. And we are responsible for maintaining those records. The old ones are at the courthouse, and anything from 2013 to now is at the coroner's office, and they are public record for anyone. We have to be able to maintain that for any person who asks us. It has to be readily available. All constitutional duties of the county coroner are outlined in the South Carolina Code of Laws, Criminal Procedures, Title 17, Chapter 5. This is just a list of continued responsibilities that we have. Not only do we conduct death investigations and determining the cause and manner of death, but we also notified families of those deaths. And let me tell you, that's a hard thing. That's the worst part of our job there, is having to tell someone that their loved one's not coming home. Whether it be 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we go right then to notify those loved ones. They shouldn't have to wait and see it on Facebook or something like that. Whereas one thing that we are big on in our office. We also conduct inquests as needed, issue cremation permits. We participate as a member of the disaster preparedness team. We are in charge of maintaining and organizing the County Child Fatality Review Board. We currently have a full board. They're all appointed, and they are notified quarterly whether we have a child death or not. If we don't have anything, naturally we don't meet. We just do a notification. If we have one, then they have to be notified within 24 hours and meet within 7 days. We do not issue death certificates. They're from DHEC, but we do issue the cremation permits and things like that. Our approved budget for last year was the 155,921, and we are requesting 161,461 with a difference of $5,540. That difference that we're requesting would be used to go into salaries, and when I say salaries, I don't just mean what we're getting paid. That's the group health, that all of the extra lines too. And Ms. Michelle would kind of disperse it out for us. And y'all, let me tell you, she's awesome to work with. We appreciate working with her, and we thank council for allowing us to work with her. Some changes for this year is we have hosted a training. For the first time ever, Hampton County has hosted a training. We didn't get as big of a response as we wanted to get, but we still did bring in some revenue to offset some of our expenditures, something we've never done in the past. And this training, though not as many people, was a huge success. The people that came really enjoyed it. We had a quality instructor. They were able to get their continuing education hours, and then they had a good meal, and the coroner's office was able to generate some revenue on top of that. I know you all are probably aware of that from us coming before you after the last first quarter audit, but still wanted to make you aware again. So, of course, that's everything lined out there that we're requesting, kind of spread out. Our challenges is unfunded requirements. Not much has changed since last year. Biggest challenge we have is storing decedents in the event that more than 2 people die in Hampton County at the same time and are needed to be held at the Hampton County morgue. Now, with that being said, just because when I say 2 people die at the same time, that's my period that I would have to hold a body. If someone dies, and our nursing home is probably the worst in the state, from what I hear from other coroners, of accepting people who have no loved ones or anything like that. I understand what they're trying to do, but they do not communicate with the state to get state funding for that. That burden falls on the coroner. We have to then hold that individual in the county morgue for 30 days plus 1. So if I'm holding an individual for 30 days plus 1, and the next night we have to go to I-95, and we have a car of people, and it's happened, get killed, we bring them back to the Hampton County morgue, and then we have to figure out where they're going. And then the hospital calls and says, well, we've had someone down on the floor, y'all got to get this person out of here, because they take precedence over that morgue. I tried to argue on behalf of the county many times with the hospital that we, as the county, own the morgue, which was true, but they house it, so we can't get to it. And we're kind of at their mercy. Luckily, we have a good working relationship with them for the most part, but, you know, when things like that happen, we're like, uh-oh. And our budget's not fluffed enough to be able to pay other counties to hold individuals for us. So that's definitely a challenge and an unfunded requirement that we need to look to in the future. Not only for the sake of caring for that deceased loved one, but for the sake of going to court. If we go to court and we have a homicide victim that I had to transport because Hampton County told me I had to get him out, the hospital told me I had to get him out the morgue, how in the world am I going to tell the judge, oh yeah, the hospital told us we had to move that criminal case to wherever and then transport it to autopsy? They're going to eat that alive. I mean, that's a huge liability for us. In addition to that, record storing is not as big of an issue, but it is an issue. We have tons of records that are in a storage unit that the county pays for monthly, and it's not cheap. But I guess we're like every other department. There's a lack of storage, and eventually, you know, I think that it would behoove the county to have a long-term storage facility that belongs to the county rather than paying monthly for the storage unit. It just adds up over time, as y'all know. And of course, low funds and payment of employees. You know, like the coroner said, we work go nights sometimes without sleeping. We may very well go a week or so without having a call, but that's when we're catching up on the paperwork. And just because we just went and worked to death, that doesn't mean the people aren't calling us. I mean, we are nonstop, and they shouldn't, but people call all hours, and we help them all hours. So getting quality people and good for people that are trained is hard with the low funds that we've received in the past, but we'll get there one day. Our revenue, the only revenue we have is the state supplement that the coroner gets for her salary. The child fatality funds, we do like I said, we maintain our child fatality review board, so we do receive $35,000 annually. And then, of course, the new one for this year would be training. We're estimating about $2,500 to be put back in the budget every year, hoping that the training grows, and that is something that we plan on doing once a year, every year. And this next year, I would love for some of you to come, at least for lunch, and join us. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Is there a state law stating that a county has to own the morgue in a hospital versus
No, sir. No, sir.
why is Hampton County's morgue housed in Hampton County Regional?
Because that morgue was bought in the 90s. I actually believe that morgue was bought in 1993. At that time, the coroner's office, there was no coroner's office. There was no office. It was ran by the coroner at his private business, which was very common in small counties at the time. You know, you had to have a place to house the morgue. Naturally, he couldn't house the county morgue at a private business. So the hospital at that time needed a morgue. So the agreement was, okay, Hampton County will buy the morgue, hospital will house it, maintain it, and secure it, because you have to have security and all that stuff. And it's worked out fine for a long time, but there are a few things that, back in 1993, if you had 5 people pass away at one time, there weren't laws for funeral homes and coroner's offices and all. I'm just going to be honest. If the coroner didn't need the morgue, he could take the body back to call any funeral home. Hey, can you embalm this body to preserve it? And then it could stay there for however long
Right.
it needed to.
Right.
You can't do that now. You can't just embalm someone's loved one without talking to them.
Gotcha.
So that's where the changes have come in now.
That question leads to this. We already have 2 freezer units in storage that we pay in storage on.
We have one that's been in there for 14 years.
How many units are in the hospital?
Two.
In a perfect storm, you have 4 units in our separate building that we can control.
That'd be great.
Perfect storm. Has anybody thought about making a deal with the hospital to buy those units and us purchasing a metal building to create a morgue?
We don't, let me help you. We got other counties that are willing to give us coolers newer, way newer than the one from 1993, because that's the same original one.
Right.
They're willing to give them to us for free, we just don't have anywhere to put them.
I see.
That'd be better than even asking for.
And the cooler that we have actually is, the building would be a 30 by 30. We've already did the measurements and everything for that. The
Right.
thing is trying to figure out is that's still working. It's still wrapped up and everything, but it's been there for 14 years, so we don't even know if it's working.
We have done research into getting a building built, and then it has to have adequate drainage, adequate security. We'd have to have cameras up. That's what that's what keeps adding. It's like, man, there's more requirements to have this morgue, and that's what I think has halted the county in doing that for so long.
Regardless of that, it's a necessity.
It is. And
We
well,
need-
the good thing is, if we do it in the next 5 years, look at the one at the hospital. That cooler's 30 years old, 32 years old. If we can make that one that we've got in storage last 32 years, we got our money out of it.
Because sometimes that cooler go down and we can't even use it, so we have to utilize, again, other corner, Jackson County, Alameda County.
That's right.
Because it has broken down on us on several people,
And they charge us.
and they charge us when we utilize.
I suggest that go on the priority list, and let's seriously figure out how we can fix that problem. That's priority. So therefore, research, black and white, give us something to look at.
We've got research, and I'd be happy to do some more current, because it's been a year or two since we've done it. I can certainly do that if council would like.
Put it in front of us. We need to look at that.
Okay.
Make a statement.
Okay.
This is not a question, this is a statement. Being part of the clergy, Ms. Fields, you have thank God for the work you do, especially when dealing with loved ones. And I've actually been on the scene of loved ones to see this transition. And you have an outstanding deputy. About 2 years ago, I saw him at a loved one's house when they just lost a loved one. And his professionalism was second to none. Just want you to know that. Young man's doing an outstanding job for this county.
Appreciate that, Councilman Bowles.
Better sooner than later.
Okay, any other questions?
Well, I just want to ask one question. I mean,
Sure.
we appreciate the work that both of you are doing in any county, and I know it's a tremendous task, especially dealing with people who have transitioned. That within itself is a challenge, how you handle it. I noticed that you said the child fatality fund, you get $35,000 from the state. But I see in the budget you also asked for, it's a one-time item this year of $19,000. How does that?
No, I'm sorry. Last year, whenever we did the budget, we were getting the $35,000, and I asked for it to be split up into different line items in the budget. And I do apologize, I should have said this. We're asking for that to be taken out of those line items and put in a separate line item called child fatality funds to better track that. Because I know whatever.
Well, I see it over here. I see but I was
Yes,
just
sir.
wondering about that. Okay.
That's what that's from. So if we have it as a separate line item, then we can code it when we send it in and say, okay, we want this to come out of child fatality funds. Because since those funds come from the state, we have to be able to, if they asked, they may never ask, but if they ask, we have to be able to say, well, this is what we spent our child fatality money on. And anything relating to do with that child fatality review board, of course, would come out of that line item as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? One final question.
So,
You say you host a training. What type of training is it?
so every year, deputy coroners, we have to have 16 hours of continuing education. And we actually hosted the last training we had. You were able to get 8 of those hours right here in Hampton County.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We had an instructor from the Criminal Justice Academy come, and he taught a course for us, an 8-hour course. And law enforcement local law enforcement was there. We had 6 or 7 county coroner's offices represented, different
Okay.
deputy coroners from
Sure.
different counties and all. Came
Great.
because they have to have continuing education, and then law enforcement came because the training is just as good for them, and they have to
Sure.
have continuing education as well.
Sure. Great, okay,
And like I said, I'm going to do that again, too.
go ahead.
With the new legislative, the South Carolina legislature this year, you know, they put in a new, I'm not sure where it's at right now, the new coroner's bill. Have you all been keeping up with that? And how do we, it's something about,
It's
before
updating,
you're elected and you have to have so much
right. It's updating the qualifications.
Qualifications,
Run for
right.
coroner,
Mm-hmm.
which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, because you don't want anyone who does not have compassion or knowledge of their job being the coroner.
That's right.
That's right. So we okay with that as far as our?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's not
I want to
impacting
be sure, how,
budget.
you know, how you all were following it, making sure that we're up to date with it. Yeah. Don't want us to get, you know, get caught without a hate ball or something like that.
Yes, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Fields and Mr. Preston, thank you all very much for your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman.
Well, with that being said, we have completed all of the budget presentations. We're now at adjournment, so what's the pleasure of council?
So move.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. Any further discussion? All those who want to approve that we adjourn, show your approval by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? We're now adjourned, and we're now getting ready for our 6 o'clock meeting.